Beamy Jet, 38. Been working at the same mid-sized logistics company for about 15 years. Not a programmer rock star, not a Silicon Valley genius. I'm the guy they call when something actually important breaks. My official title is Senior Systems Engineer, which is a fancy way of saying I'm the zookeeper for a creature everyone else is terrified of. We call it the Beast. It's the company's entire central nervous system, built sometime in the late 90s by guys who probably retired a decade ago. It's a monolithic nightmare of proprietary code, patched over subsystems, and documentation that might as well be written in ancient Sumerian. The user interface is a beautiful landscape of monochrome text on a black background. No mouse, just keyboard commands you have to know by heart. It handles everything: warehouse inventory, truck dispatch, payroll, client billing, everything. If the beast stops breathing, the company stops existing. The new hires, fresh out of school, they see it and they freeze. They're used to slick web interfaces and cloud-based apps. The beast is like showing a modern mechanic a steam engine. They know it's a machine, but they have no idea how to even start it, let alone fix it. I'm the only one left who speaks its language. I didn't design it, but I've been here long enough to learn its moods, its weird quirks, the specific sequence of commands you have to type during a full moon to get it to generate quarterly reports. My job is mostly quiet. I sit in my corner, monitor the system logs, and perform the digital equivalent of preventative maintenance. For years, it was a stable, predictable gig. Management left me alone because they knew they needed me, even if they didn't understand what I did. My old boss was a guy who understood one thing: if the green lights are on, don't talk to Jet. If the red lights are on, find Jet. It was a simple, effective system. He retired, and for a few months we had an interim manager who didn't do much of anything. It was peaceful, the calm before the storm. Then the email went out. "Please join us in welcoming our new head of IT operations, Layla." Her picture was attached. Professional headshot, sharp business suit, a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. Her bio was full of corporate buzzwords: synergy, paradigm shift, future-forward solutions, fostering an inclusive digital ecosystem. I didn't think much of it. New bosses come and go. As long as they let me keep the beast fed and happy, I don't care what they call themselves. I was so naive. Her first day, she scheduled a mandatory team meeting for 9 a.m. The whole department filed into the main conference room. Layla stood at the front, projecting an aura of absolute confidence. She started by telling us about her vision, not about uptime or system stability or project deadlines. No, her vision was about culture. She talked for 20 minutes about the need to deconstruct the traditional tech hierarchy and create a safe and equitable space for all voices. Then came the fun part. She wanted everyone to go around the room, introduce ourselves, state our preferred pronouns, and share an experience where we felt our voice wasn't heard in a professional setting. Oh boy. People started going around the table. The younger staff were all over it, sharing stories about previous jobs. It gets to me. I'm sitting in the corner, just wanting to go check the server logs. All eyes on me. Jet, he, him. I make sure the system that runs the company doesn't explode. I can't recall a time my voice wasn't heard regarding a technical issue. Silence. You could feel the temperature in the room drop. Layla just stared at me. Her polite smile was gone, replaced by a thin, tight line. She just said, "Thank you, Jet," and quickly moved on to the next person. I had failed the first test, and I didn't even know I was taking one. The next few weeks were an avalanche of new initiatives. Our internal chat channels were flooded with links to articles about unconscious bias and workplace microaggressions. Mandatory weekly workshops were put on the calendar. Not about new software or security protocols. They were about allyship, privilege, and emotional labor. I just kept my head down. I did the workshops, nodded in the right places, and got back to my desk as fast as possible. I figured if I just did my job, did it well, I'd be invisible. My job was to be the silent guardian of the beast. I was good at it. That had to count for something, right? The first real confrontation happened maybe a month in. A small module in the beast threw an error. It happened sometimes. A legacy data entry process from the finance department would sometimes create a null value where it wasn't supposed to. It was a 5-minute fix for me. I went into the command line, ran a script to find and patch the corrupted entry, and rebooted the sub-process. Done. As per protocol, I had to write a brief incident report. I sent it off, explaining the technical cause and the resolution. 5 minutes later, I get a meeting request from Layla, title, Debrief. I go to her office. She's sitting there, my report printed out on her desk with certain phrases circled in red ink. She told me to close the door. She held up the report. Jet, I read your analysis. I need you to understand that how we communicate is just as important as what we do. I was confused. Was the report unclear? I can add more technical detail if you want. Her eyes narrowed. That's the problem. You're using overly complex, exclusionary language. It feels like you're gatekeeping information. I literally didn't know how to respond. I was just explaining what happened. The database threw a syntax error because of a... She cut me off. Stop. You don't need to mansplain your own report to me, Jet. I am perfectly capable of understanding technical concepts. The word hung in the air. Mansplain. I had only ever seen it online. I never thought I'd hear it in a real-life conversation directed at me for doing my job. My intention was not to explain it to you, I said, trying to keep my voice level. It was to document the root cause for the record. The root cause, she said, leaning forward, is a system built on a foundation of non-collaborative, toxic masculine principles. It's designed to be opaque. It's designed to keep people out. And when you talk about it in this way, you perpetuate that culture. I just sat there. We weren't talking about a database anymore. I realized in that moment that she and I were living in two completely different realities. In my reality, a line of code was either correct or incorrect. A system was either online or offline. In her reality, a line of code had a gender, and a system had a political ideology. There was no common ground. I just nodded. I'll be more mindful of my language in the future. It was the only thing I could say to end the meeting. I walked out of her office feeling like I'd just been speaking to someone from another planet. Things got colder after that. Layla started hiring, 3 new people in 2 months, all women, all recent graduates. They were smart, no doubt about it. They knew all the latest frameworks and programming languages. Layla set them up on a special project to build a new modern dashboard that would interface with the beast. They were supposed to pull data from the old system and display it in pretty charts and graphs for the executives. They had a kickoff meeting for the project. I was invited, presumably because I was the only one who knew where the data actually was. The new hires were full of energy, talking about APIs, containerization, and agile sprints. Layla was beaming, nodding along. Then one of them turned to me. So, Jet, can you just give us access to the primary database's REST API? We'll take it from there. I had to take a deep breath. The beast doesn't have a REST API. It doesn't have any API. It was built before that was a common concept. They all stared at me. How do we get data out of it then? Another one asked. You have to write a query in its native scripting language, which then generates a flat file export to a specific directory on the server. And then you can write a separate process to parse that file. The energy in the room evaporated. You're kidding, right? The first one said. Layla shot me a look that said, you are embarrassing me in front of my new team. I just shrugged. That's how it works. I don't have the source code. I can't change it. I can only show you the process. Over the next few weeks, I spent hours trying to help them. I showed them the scripting language. I gave them my own personal documentation and notes I'd made over the years. But it was like trying to teach someone who only knows how to drive an automatic car, how to operate a manual transmission from 1920. They were frustrated. Everything they tried failed. They couldn't connect their modern tools to this ancient relic. Instead of seeing it as a technical challenge, they started seeing me as the problem. They would have quiet meetings with Layla in her office. The atmosphere in the department shifted. It was now us versus him. Me, the old dinosaur, standing in the way of progress. Layla's interactions with me became exclusively formal and documented. Everything was an email, no more quick chats in the hallway. She started micromanaging my work in the only way she knew how, through process. I now had to fill out a detailed change request form for even the most minor routine maintenance task. Every request had to be justified in a 3-paragraph narrative, explaining the business value and the potential impact on team inclusivity. Fixing a typo in a comment line of a script required a 2-day approval process. It was designed to slow me down, to frustrate me, to build a paper trail. One afternoon, I'm working on a critical patch. The company's main warehouse was having an inventory sync issue, and it was causing shipping delays. I knew exactly what was wrong. A data index had become corrupted. A 10-minute fix. I was in the middle of it when one of the new hires came over. "Hey, Layla wants to know if you've finished your mandatory weekly self-reflection journal entry." I didn't even look up from the screen. "I'll do it after I stop the company from losing thousands of dollars a minute. Tell her the shipping department is down." The new hire scurried away. I fixed the issue. The warehouse came back online. I sent out the all-clear email. An hour later, I was called into another meeting with Layla and the HR manager. The HR manager was a guy who looked like he was made of beige. He never said much, just took notes. Layla started. "Jet, it's been brought to my attention that you used a very dismissive and aggressive tone with a team member today." I looked at her. "I was in the middle of fixing a critical system failure. Your perception of the issue's criticality does not give you a license to create a hostile work environment," she replied, without blinking. "The team needs to feel they can approach you. Your behavior today was intimidating and indicative of a deeper problem." The HR manager nodded slowly, writing in his notepad. I tried to reason with them. I was focused. I needed to solve the problem quickly. It wasn't personal. "Everything is personal, Jet," Layla said softly, as if explaining something to a child. "When you dismiss someone's feelings, you are invalidating their contribution to the team. You are reinforcing negative power structures." I was losing my mind. They weren't talking about work. They were speaking a different language, a language of feelings and power dynamics and perceived aggressions. I just had to sit there and take it. The meeting ended with me being officially counseled on my communication style and being assigned a series of online courses on workplace sensitivity. The paper trail was growing longer. The dashboard project was a complete failure. After 2 months, the new team had produced nothing but a login screen and a few mock-ups. They couldn't get any real data out of the beast. In a team meeting, Layla announced a pivot. The project was now being re-scoped as a long-term foundational exploration. It was a corporate-speak masterpiece. She blamed the failure on the technical debt and lack of documentation from the previous era. She never looked at me, but everyone knew who she was talking about. She was framing me as the saboteur, the guy whose ancient, complicated system was preventing her brilliant new team from succeeding. She was setting the narrative. The final straw came from the most ridiculous thing. We had a shared kitchen area on our floor. One afternoon, I'm making coffee. 2 of the new hires are in there, talking. They're complaining about some issue they're having, and I can tell from the keywords they're using that they're making a simple mistake in how they're trying to access a log file. It would take me 30 seconds to explain the correct command. Part of me wanted to just keep quiet. Don't engage. It's not my problem. But another part of me, the part that's been an engineer for almost 2 decades, hates seeing a problem go unsolved. So I turned around. "Excuse me, I couldn't help but overhear. You're using the wrong file path. That directory is a symlink. You need to use the absolute path or the script will fail." I said it in a neutral, matter-of-fact tone. The same tone I'd use to tell someone their car lights were on. They both just stared at me. One of them mumbled, "Oh, okay, thanks." They grabbed their things and left the kitchen. It felt weird, awkward. I didn't think anything more of it. I was wrong. The next morning, a meeting request from HR appeared in my inbox. Title, Follow-up Discussion. Attendees, me, Layla, and the beige HR manager. I knew with a sinking feeling in my gut that this was it. This was the checkmate. I walked into the conference room. The air was thick and heavy, like right before a thunderstorm. Layla sat on one side of the table, a neat folder in front of her. The beige HR manager sat next to her, pen poised over a yellow legal pad. They gestured for me to sit on the opposite side. It felt like an interrogation. Layla began, her voice calm and clinical. "Jet, we're here today because of an incident that occurred yesterday in the break room. A formal complaint was filed." I just looked at her. "A complaint? About what? Telling someone the correct file path?" "2 of your female colleagues," she continued, "reported feeling deeply uncomfortable due to your behavior. They stated that you were eavesdropping on their private conversation, and then, in an unsolicited manner, interjected yourself into their discussion in a way that felt condescending and belittling." I actually almost laughed. It was so absurd. "I was making coffee," I said, my voice flat. "They were talking loudly about a technical problem. I offered a solution, that's it. Layla exchanged a look with the HR manager. It was a look of pity, as if I was a lost cause who just didn't get it. The issue isn't your solution, Jet. The issue is the pattern of behavior. The team has expressed that the environment you create is not one of psychological safety. You don't collaborate. You dictate. You use your specialized knowledge of the legacy system not as a tool to empower others, but as a weapon to maintain a position of authority. Every word was a carefully polished piece of corporate HR jargon. It was a masterpiece of twisting reality. My silence was uncollaborative. My expertise was gatekeeping. My efficiency was toxic. My help was condescending. There was no defense. How can you defend against an accusation that is based entirely on someone else's feelings? I wasn't being judged on my work, my performance, or my results. I was being judged on my personality, as interpreted by a hostile observer. The HR manager finally spoke, his voice a monotone drone. The complaint alleges that your actions contribute to an atmosphere of intimidation, making it difficult for new team members, particularly women, to learn and grow without fear of being judged or corrected by a male senior. That was the kill shot. They had framed it as a gender issue. In the modern corporate world, that's an accusation you can't survive. It doesn't matter if it's true. The accusation itself is the verdict. I looked at Layla. Her face was a mask of detached professionalism, but I could see the glint of victory in her eyes. She had won. She had built her case, brick by absurd brick, and now she was closing the loop. I didn't argue. I didn't plead. I didn't raise my voice. What was the point? So, what happens now? I asked. Layla opened the folder in front of her. The company has decided that your continued presence is detrimental to the team's health and future success. We are terminating your employment, effective immediately. She pushed a stack of papers across the table. A severance agreement, an NDA, a checklist for returning company property. I looked at the papers, then back at her. For a second, I thought about warning her. I thought about saying, Layla, you have no idea what you're doing. The beast is a sleeping dragon. I'm the only one who knows how to keep it asleep. If you do this, you're going to burn this whole place to the ground. But then I looked at her smug, self-satisfied face, and I thought, no, let it burn. She mistook my silence for shock. We understand this is difficult news, Jet, she said, her voice dripping with fake sympathy. HR will provide you with resources to help you in your transition. I picked up the pen. I signed every document without reading them. My signature was clear and steady. I stood up and pushed the papers back to her. Okay, I said. I turned and walked to the door. I didn't look back. They had an escort wait for me while I packed my desk. It didn't take long. A coffee mug, a couple of old tech manuals, a stress ball shaped like a brain. The new hires were all at their desks, staring intently at their screens, pretending not to watch. The silence was deafening. As I walked towards the elevator, my box in my arms, Layla was standing with her new all-star team. I heard her say, her voice loud enough for me to hear, "Okay, everyone, now that the distractions are gone, we can finally start building a truly collaborative and forward-thinking department. A new beginning." The elevator doors closed. The walk to my car felt strange. The sun was brighter. The air felt cleaner. I got in, put the box on the passenger seat, and just sat there for a minute. I wasn't angry. I wasn't sad. I felt light. For 15 years, a huge part of my brain had been constantly dedicated to the beast, monitoring its heartbeat, worrying about its quirks, planning for its potential tantrums. It was a low-level, persistent hum of anxiety in the back of my mind, and just like that, it was gone. It was no longer my problem. I drove home, put my work phone on the kitchen counter, and turned it off. The little black brick went dark. I felt a wave of relief so powerful it almost made me dizzy. The first day, I did nothing. I slept in. I watched some dumb action movies. I ordered a pizza. It was glorious. The second day, a Thursday, I went down to my garage. I had an old motorcycle I'd been meaning to restore for years. I pulled the tarp off it and got to work. It was real, tangible, a machine I could understand. A bolt was a bolt. A wire was a wire. It didn't have feelings. It couldn't be intimidated. I was so absorbed, I completely lost track of time. Friday came and went. I didn't think about the office once. I didn't think about Layla or the new hires or the beast. They were a part of a past life. I was happy. I had no idea that back at the office, the world was ending. The first tremor hit at 4:45 p.m. on Friday. A single cryptic error message appeared on one of the system monitors. Fatal cascade sync failure in Module 7G. One of the new hires saw it. She Googled the error message. 0 results, of course. The message was written by a programmer who had probably retired before she was born. She shrugged and assumed it was a temporary glitch. She was busy planning her weekend. At 4:55 p.m., the entire logistics network for North America went dark. The system that managed truck routing, dispatch, and delivery confirmations just stopped. Hundreds of truck drivers on highways all across the country suddenly found their onboard terminals were frozen. Their next destination, their cargo manifests, all gone. They started calling their dispatchers. The dispatchers' screens were also frozen. Panic started to ripple through the logistics department. At 5:00 p.m., the beast decided it was time for the main course. The primary financial transaction database corrupted itself. It was a special kind of corruption. It didn't just delete data. It started randomly swapping it. Accounts payable records were being overwritten with accounts receivable data. The company was trying to automatically pay its clients and send invoices to its suppliers. Millions of dollars in automated payments were either halted or being sent to the wrong places. In the IT department, the new team was just starting to realize something was wrong. Their pretty modern dashboards were all showing red error signs. They tried the first thing they always tried, turning it off and on again. They rebooted the main interface server. It was like trying to fix a heart attack with a Band-Aid. The reboot did nothing, except now they couldn't even access the error logs. Layla was in her office wrapping up for the day when the head of logistics burst in, his face pale. "Our whole fleet is blind. We have hundreds of trucks sitting on the side of the road, and we don't know where they're supposed to go." Before Layla could even respond, her phone rang. It was the CFO. He was screaming, not talking, screaming. "What is going on with the payment system? We're getting fraud alerts from every bank we work with. Shut it down! Shut it all down now!" Layla ran out of her office into the main IT area. Her team of superstars was in a full-blown panic. They were frantically typing on their keyboards, talking over each other, their modern programming jargon utterly useless. "The containers aren't responding. I can't get a ping on the primary node. Is it a DDoS attack?" Layla tried to take charge. "Okay, team, let's not panic. What's the protocol for a system-wide outage?" One of the new hires looked at her, her eyes wide with terror. "The protocol is call Jet." The name just hung there in the air, thick and heavy. Layla's face went white. The full, horrifying weight of what she had done was beginning to crash down on her. She had fired the only person on the planet who could have stopped this. Just then, the big boss, the company's CEO, stormed into the department. He was a man in his 60s who usually had a calm, grandfatherly demeanor. Not today. Today his face was beet red, and he looked like he was about to have an aneurysm. He didn't look at the panicked new hires. He walked straight to Layla. "What is happening?" he said, his voice dangerously quiet. Layla started to launch into her corporate damage control speech. "We're experiencing some unexpected challenges due to legacy system instability, but my team is leveraging all available assets to—" The CEO held up a hand. "Stop. Just stop. I have the head of our biggest client on my other line, screaming that we just sent their competitor their entire shipping manifest for the next quarter. I have the bank telling me our corporate accounts are frozen due to suspicious activity. I have our logistics director telling me he's got $100 million worth of perishable goods sitting in trucks in the middle of Arizona. So you will stop speaking like a press release and you will tell me, in simple words, what is going on," Layla stammered. The old system. It's crashed. We can't get it back online." The CEO stared at her for a long, brutal second. "Where's Jet?" It was the same question, the only question that mattered. Layla's composure finally shattered. He's no longer with the company," she whispered. The CEO's eyes bulged. "He's what? You're telling me that on the day our entire company is imploding, the one man who knows how this system works is not here?" "It was a necessary personnel change," Layla said, her voice shaking. "There were cultural issues. He wasn't a team player." The CEO looked at her as if she had just started speaking in tongues. He pointed a trembling finger at the chaos around them. Does this look like a culture problem to you? I don't give a damn about team players right now. I need a goddamn firefighter, and you're telling me you fired the fire chief. He took a deep breath, trying to control himself. Get him on the phone, now. Layla fumbled for her cell phone, her hands shaking so badly she could barely unlock it. What do I offer him? She asked, her voice cracking. The CEO's voice dropped to an icy whisper. You will offer him anything he wants, a blank check, a corner office, stock options, my firstborn child. I don't care. You will get him on the phone, you will beg, and you will get him to fix this. Am I clear? Yes, Layla squeaked. She found my contact in her phone and hit call. Everyone in the room watched her. She held the phone to her ear. It went straight to voicemail. My phone was still turned off, sitting on my kitchen counter. I was in the garage, covered in grease, happily trying to get a spark from an old engine. Layla's face fell. Voicemail, she said to the CEO. Then text him, he hissed. She started typing, her thumbs flying across the screen. The first text, sent at 6:15 p.m. Jet, this is Layla. We're having a minor issue with the system. Could you please give me a call when you have a moment? Thanks. An hour passed. The company was now bleeding money at a catastrophic rate. The CEO was just standing in the middle of the room, silently radiating fury. The second text, sent at 7:30 p.m. Jet, please call me. The situation has become more serious than we thought. We need your help. Another hour. More systems were failing. The customer service call center had completely melted down. The third text, sent at 8:45 p.m. Jet, I know we had our differences, but the company is in serious trouble. The CEO has authorized me to offer you a very generous consulting fee to help us resolve this. By 10 p.m., the atmosphere in the office was apocalyptic. People were openly crying at their desks. Layla was a ghost, just staring at her phone, willing it to ring. The final text, sent just before midnight. Jet, I'm begging you. Please, everything is broken. I was wrong. I was so wrong. I'll do anything. Please just answer the phone. Silence. The message was sent, but it was never delivered. The final scene was a quiet one. The CEO had finally left. After telling Layla that if the system wasn't online by Monday morning, she shouldn't bother coming in. Ever again. The new hires had given up and gone home, defeated. Layla was alone in the vast, dark office. The only light came from the dozens of monitors, all glowing with the same red error messages, an electronic testament to her failure. She sat at my old desk. She looked at the empty space where my computer used to be. She had done it. She had successfully deconstructed the toxic patriarchy in the IT department. She had created her safe space, and now she was all alone in it, listening to the sound of her perfect new world burning down around her.